Directors wanted to show deeper aspects of the human mind than the French Impressionism of Abel Gance. Influenced by the so-called Expressionist painters and theatre designers, whose work was jagged like a broken mirror, they began making Expressionist films. Less than 30 were made, but they were exported all around the world. Germany had just been defeated in an appalling war, but because it closed its borders to foreign films in 1916, its homegrown film industry was stimulated. The most influential of the Expressionist movies was this one, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, directed by Robert Wiene, which was made before Chaplin's first feature, or the accession of Emperor Hirohito in Japan. It was full of fear, haunting murders, graphic rooms. Where studio filmmakers filmed indoors, excluding daylight, and Scandinavians did the opposite, director Wiene and his chief designer, Herman Warm, found an apparently revolutionary third way. They flooded their set with flat light and then painted shadows directly onto the walls and floor. Cesare, a sleepwalker on show at fairgrounds, murders the enemies of his master, Dr. Caligari, at night. This story had a political edge. Caligari represented the controlling German state. Cesare represented ordinary people manipulated by it. But director Wiene and his producer Erich Pommer removed the film's political bite by adding this ending that showed that the whole thing was the dream of a madman, Fear, and that Dr. Caligari is not evil after all, and that the German state doesn't control its people. Filming took place here at the Babelsberg studio near Berlin. The film's bizarre imagery took the question of point of view in cinema further even than the French Impressionists. The film's spaces, sliced like shards of glass, its jagged lighting, showed the extreme mental state of Fear. Caligari has echoed down the years. This film, Charles Klein's Telltale Heart, shows its direct influence. The seminal British director Alfred Hitchcock, who had worked in Germany, made his first important film, The Lodger, with some of the shadowing and hysteria of Caligari. Lang made the most iconic film of the silent era, a movie that might have been made by an architect. Metropolis, set in the year 2000, tells the story of clashes between workers and an authoritarian industrialist in a giant city. Like a fantasy New York, roads and railways in the sky, brilliant model shots. A young woman, Maria, inspires the workers and is almost Christ-like, but the industrialist builds a robot that looks like her to manipulate the masses. The robot is a deco mannequin, lit with flashing lights, symmetrically framed. The astonishing opening eyes of the woman, enhanced by makeup. But in the end, Maria and the industrialist's son save the city, and workers and owners are united in a scene that seems to take place on the steps of a cathedral. Lang's cityscapes and robotics, exploitation and urban paradise were profoundly influential. The Hollywood director King Vidor loved Metropolis, and as a result, there are expressionist echoes of it in his city film, The Crowd. Adolf Hitler liked Metropolis. And the inmates of the Nazi concentration camp Mauthausen compared the huge ramp that they had to build to this one from Metropolis. Metropolis was shot here over a year and a half using 2 million feet of film and 36,000 extras. In two revolutions, Russia dashed to what it thought was modernity, tried to make society more equal, and violently removed its old ruling class. It set life in a spin. One of the children of the revolution, an early whiz kid, Dziga Vertov, whose name means spinning top, made this newsreel. The camera attached to a train, worshipping the work of peasants. The new boss of the Soviet Union, V.I. Lenin, said, "Of all the arts, for us cinema is the most important." Take a bow, Sergei Eisenstein, that art's most brilliant innovator. This is his first film. Actors perform, mug for the camera. Eisenstein was one of the most complex people in the story of film. He was a Marxist on the outside, and an engineer too, and perhaps a Christian inside that, and Jewish, and bisexual. He made this film about a mutiny on a battleship. The mutineer supporters on land come to pay their respects. Then the military opens fire. Eisenstein asked himself how he should show the horror of the murder. It's said that he was eating a cherry and threw away the stone. Its bouncing down steps gave him an idea. Steps, he thought, are like the world tilted forwards to form a stage. Eisenstein decided to film the murder on such a stage. He'd cascade the murdered people down the steps. He'd studied landmine technology and so said that he needed a moment to detonate the murder. This is what he came up with. A huge caption, 3 fast shots of a woman's head ricocheting, an umbrella, fall shot with a handheld camera. The camera on a dolly beside the steps. Shots lasting on an average just 3 seconds. In American cinema of the 20s, shots averaged 5 seconds. In Germany, 9 seconds. Eisenstein cast this boy, asked him to fall. In real life, the boy was a goalkeeper, so was good at falling. His mother realizes her delayed reaction of the horror. Her face is a myth, a mask, primal. And then this horrific moment. And then this strange shot. She walks in a corridor of light. The camera's mostly been on the left, near the bottom of the steps, but then it's here, top right. A mother out of D.W. Griffith. Eisenstein adored Griffith. Her pram teeters. Her dying body pushes it. It becomes like the cherry stone. Falls through the killing field. It's hard to stop your heart racing at the Odessa Steps sequence. It's panic, which is what Eisenstein wanted. He called what we've just seen the montage of attractions. When we look at the Odessa Steps sequence on screen, the army stepping on the boy moves us. It leaps from the screen to us. Seeing the pram moves us. The emotions come from the screen to us. In our heads, the two things collide and create the idea of innocence slaughtered by the state, the Tsar. 1 + 1 = 3. Eisenstein says that he ploughed the mind of the audience. Battleship Potemkin premiered in this cinema, built in 1909, one of the oldest in the world. The film took the world by storm. Charlie Chaplin loved it. This is Eisenstein's stuff. Walt Disney admired Eisenstein. 62 years later, Brian De Palma paid homage to the Odessa Steps sequence in his violent American film, The Untouchables. The same pram, a distraught mother. We don't hear her screams, as if the film's silent. Splintered editing. Shots only a few seconds long, like Eisenstein. Peril, shooting down a grand staircase. Some say that Eisenstein's movies justify violence, but the keeper of his flame, historian Naum Kleiman, surrounded by Eisenstein's books, disagrees.
What Eisenstein did also in Potemkin is not a kind of school for revolutionaries. It was a very vulgar interpretation in the 30s that Eisenstein teaches how to make revolution. Just opposite for him, brother was the brotherhood as a law for the existence. And this film is a result of this idea of happiness on the earth and also peaceful life, and of the violence. This is actually, the film is against violence in any form. And if propaganda, then for brotherhood, but not for hate.